You will like to know the reason why most women don't like to change their name after marriage. Then listen to this.
They said it was tradition. They said every woman who married into the Okafor family took a new name. That it was an honor. That it meant she was truly one of them now. Ngozi believed them. She had no reason not to. Ngozi Adiz Musa was 31 years old when she married Emeka Okafor. She was a civil engineer. She had designed 2 bridges in Enugu State and was working on a 3rd. She had a laugh that filled rooms and a mind that solved problems other people couldn't even fully describe. She was, by every measure, a woman who knew who she was. Emeka had fallen in love with exactly that. Her certainty. Her fire. The way she could walk into a meeting full of men twice her age and own it without raising her voice. He used to tell her, "You are the most complete person I have ever met." She used to laugh and say, "Then don't go trying to change me." They both thought that was a joke. The naming ceremony happened 3 days after the traditional wedding. It was presented to Ngozi as a beautiful thing. The elder women of the Okafor family gathered in the sitting room of the family compound in the village, candles lit, palm wine poured, songs sung in Igbo that she didn't fully understand but felt in her chest. Mama Okafor, Emeka's mother, a woman of immense dignity and carefully maintained warmth, sat at the center. She had always been kind to Ngozi. Complimentary. The kind of mother-in-law other women envied. From today, Mama Okafor announced, "You are no longer Ngozi. In this family, you are Edeora. It means daughter of the land. It means you belong to us now." The women cheered. Emeka smiled from the doorway. Ngozi, Edeora, smiled too. Touched, even. She thought of her own mother, who had died when she was 19, and felt something fill a space that had been empty for a long time. "I belong somewhere," she thought. "I am home." She did not know yet what the name would cost her. It started so slowly that she almost missed it. 2 months after the wedding, her closest friend Busy called her mobile. They had been friends since university. Busy was the kind of friend who knew everything, every embarrassing story, every heartbreak, every dream Ngozi had ever whispered out loud at 2 a.m. The call connected. Ngozi said hello. There was a pause on the other end. A long one. "Hello." Busy said. "Who is this?" "Busy, it's me. Ngozi." Another pause. "I'm sorry, I think I have the wrong number." She hung up. Ngozi called back immediately. It ran out. She sent a message. No reply. She told herself Busy was busy. That the network had been bad. That there was a simple explanation. But when she saw Busy 3 weeks later at a mutual friend's birthday, something happened that she could not explain away. Busy looked directly at her. Smiled politely. The smile you give a stranger. "Hi, do we know each other?" Ngozi's blood went cold. "Busy. It's me. Ngozi. We shared a room in 200 level. You were at my traditional wedding." Busy's eyes searched her face, genuinely searching, and found nothing. "I'm sorry. You look familiar but I can't place you. What did you say your name was?" "Ngozi," she said. And watched Busy's face remain completely blank. It happened again with her colleague turned. A man she had worked beside for 4 years. A man who had attended her farewell party when she left the farm after her wedding. He passed her on the street in Abuja 3 months after the naming ceremony and looked straight through her. It happened with her father's sister, Auntie Rosalind, who had practically raised her after her mother died. Ngozi visited her in Enugu. Sat in her sitting room. Drank the tea she was offered by a woman who looked at her like she was a pleasant but unfamiliar guest. "I'm Ngozi," she said, voice shaking now. "Adiz's daughter. You used to plait my hair." Auntie Rosalind smiled with the careful kindness you show someone who might be confused. "My dear, I don't have a niece called Ngozi. You must be thinking of someone else. Ngozi drove back to Abuja in silence, hands tight on the steering wheel, a terrible understanding beginning to form at the back of her mind. She told Emeka. He listened. He held her hand. He told her she was stressed, that marriage was an adjustment, that maybe some of these people had simply changed. Emeka, she said quietly. What is my name? He looked at her. Edeora. Why? Before that. What was my name before that? He opened his mouth. Closed it. Frowned. The frown of a man genuinely searching his memory and finding something strange where something familiar should be. He started. Stopped. Laughed awkwardly. You know I'm terrible with names. What kind of question is that? But his eyes were uncertain in a way that frightened her more than anything else. She went looking for answers herself. She found them in a way she hadn't expected, in her own head. Alone one night when Emeka was traveling for work, she sat with a notebook and tried to write down everything she remembered about herself. Before the wedding. Before the name. The engineering degree. Still there. Her mother's face. Still there, but blurring at the edges. Her childhood home in Jos. The street, the color of the gate. Going. The sound of her mother's voice. Almost gone. She wrote faster, panicked, trying to capture things before they disappeared. And then she stopped on one line she had written without thinking. My name is Ngozi Addis Musa and I designed the Ogu Bridge and I am still here. She stared at it. Then she picked up her phone and called the one person she hadn't tried yet. Her older brother, Deo, who lived in London and had not attended the wedding because of visa troubles. He answered on the second ring. Deo, she said. It's me. Ngozi. He said immediately, warmly, without hesitation. I was just thinking about you. How is married life? She burst into tears. Deo flew in within the week. He was the kind of brother who didn't ask too many questions before acting. He listened to everything. He didn't tell her she was imagining things. He didn't suggest she was stressed. He said, tell me about this naming ceremony. Tell me everything. She told him. The candles. The palm wine. The song. The name. Deo was quiet for a long time. Then, did you drink the palm wine? She thought back. Yes. Everyone had drunk it. It had tasted slightly different from normal palm wine, thicker, with something underneath the sweetness she hadn't been able to identify. And the song they sang, do you remember any of the words? She didn't. She had assumed it was a family song, a tradition. She hadn't thought to ask. Deo took out his phone and called an old professor of theirs from university, a man who had studied Igbo cultural practices for 40 years. He described the ceremony. The professor was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that made Deo's face go very still. There is an old practice, the professor said carefully, that has been misused across generations. It was originally meant to spiritually integrate a new wife into a family. A genuine welcoming. But it can be corrupted. When it is corrupted, the new name doesn't welcome. It replaces. It overwrites. The woman keeps her memories, but the world's memory of her, who she was, who knew her, who loved her, begins to dissolve. She becomes only what the family defines her as. Nothing more. Nothing else. How do you reverse it? Deo asked. She has to reclaim her own name. Publicly. In front of the family that took it. And she has to mean it, not just say it. The reclaiming has to come from a place of absolute certainty about who she is. If there is doubt, it won't hold. Ngozi sat with that for 3 days. Because here was the honest truth, and she was always honest, even when it hurt. Part of her had wanted to be Edeora. Part of her heart wanted to belong to something after years of feeling untethered after her mother's death. Part of her heart handed herself over willingly, grateful to be wanted, grateful to be named, grateful to finally feel like she had a home. That part was the door the ceremony had walked through. She couldn't be angry at Mama Okafor without also being honest about that. She sat in the silence of her own house and she thought about the Ogu Bridge. She had stood on that bridge 2 years ago on the day it opened, watching cars cross it for the first time, and she had felt something that she had never been able to fully describe. Like the world was more solid because she had been in it. Like she had added something that would outlast her. She thought about her mother's voice. What she could still remember of it. She thought about Busy. And Auntie Rosalind. And all the people slowly losing the thread of who she was. And she thought, I am not a woman who disappears. I design bridges. I am a bridge. I connect things. I do not dissolve. By the third day, she was ready. She called Mama Okafor and asked for a family gathering. Mama Okafor came with brightness in her face, assuming good news. Perhaps a pregnancy announcement. She brought 2 of Emeka's aunties. The sitting room filled with Okafor women, warm and expectant. Ngozi stood in the center of her own home and spoke without raising her voice. I want to thank this family for welcoming me. I mean that. I have felt loved here. I have felt chosen. And I know that some of what was done to me at the naming ceremony came from a real desire to make me part of something. The room was very quiet. But I am not Edeora. Mama Okafor shifted. My daughter. I am Ngozi. Ngozi Adis Musa. I was born in Jos. My mother was called Fatima and she taught me that a woman's name is her first property, the first thing that belongs to her before anyone else can claim anything. I am an engineer. I built the Ogu Bridge. I am Emeka's wife. And I am Ngozi. These things are not in conflict. I can be your daughter-in-law and still be myself. But I cannot be Edeora. That name was never mine. And I am taking mine back. Mama Okafor was crying. The aunties were murmuring. Emeka, standing at the door, had his hand over his mouth. And something shifted in the room. Not dramatically. Not with thunder or fire. Just a settling. Like a house adjusting to its foundations. Emeka crossed the room and stood beside his wife. Her name is Ngozi, he said. And I remember now. I have always known her name. The recovery wasn't instant. Some of it came back quickly. Busy called the next morning, confused and apologetic, not fully understanding why she had gone quiet, just knowing that she had and that she was sorry. Auntie Rosalind called 2 days later, in tears, saying she had dreamed about Ngozi and woken up with her heart hurting. Some of it took longer. Some relationships had frayed in ways that needed tending. Some memories that had faded didn't come back fully. And Mama Okafor, she didn't fully admit what she had done. Not directly. But she sat in Ngozi's kitchen one afternoon, months later, watching her daughter-in-law move through her own home with ease and confidence, and she said something quietly. Your mother must have been a remarkable woman. She was, Ngozi said. I think she raised someone like herself. It wasn't an apology. But it was close enough to be the beginning of one. As for Ngozi, she went back to engineering. She was consulting on a new project. Another bridge. She stood at the site one afternoon, boots in the mud, plans in her hand, and felt the same feeling from before. Solid. Certain. Present. Her name was Ngozi Adis Musa. She had built bridges. She was still here. This story is for every woman who has ever been given a new name, not by a ceremony, but by a relationship.
This story is not about a naming ceremony. It is about something that happens to women every day inside marriages. You stop wearing what you love. You stop seeing your friends. You stop talking when people are speaking. You stop having opinions. You stop being yourself. And you do it so slowly that you don't even notice it until one day you look in the mirror and you don't recognize the woman looking back at you. And the painful truth is, the man who married you didn't marry that quiet, invisible woman. He married the woman you were before, the one with fire, the one with opinion. That is who he chose. So when you lose yourself, you don't become a better wife. You become a stranger to the man who loved you. Don't lose yourself. The woman you were before, she is worth keeping. If this story spoke to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to turn on the notification button so that you will not miss the next story. Let those who have ears hear. I'll see you in my next story. Stay safe.